Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Fire Me channel. So today I am taking a little bit different approach, a little different style format of videos. It's going to be kind of like on a whiteboard-esque type of thing, just writing it down and see how that kind of format goes. Usually I would try to do this at the office with our big screens and monitors and a nice PowerPoint, but since we're at home with COVID-19 lockdowns, kind of limited to the options here. So anyways, today's video is going to be on hard decisions. So recently, I've kind of come across something that really fit into this that I thought would be a great example and the video to make. So I'm on the board of a publicly traded company. And recently, it's publicly disclosed now, we were in a dispute with one of our joint venture partners, and long story short, project we had went sideways, over budget, over schedule. There was some negligence on the joint venture partner's part that made it so that we were put in a really tough position. And that got me thinking about this video today. So today's video is on hard decisions, how to make them, and some things to consider. All right, let's just get to the first bullet point. All right, so number one, you need to take the emotions out of your decisions. So sometimes when you are making these decisions on what to do, maybe you've got a lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of resources invested into an idea or a project. You've put a lot of yourself into things, but you got to look at what you're doing from an outside perspective, as if you are someone with nothing tied up into this. So you really got to think about, is what you're doing makes sense, whether that's financially, time-wise, the end result. In our decision, in the case I was just talking about, this project that we had, it went straight sideways, and we had to decide, do we keep putting more money into it or do we just walk away? And that was really tough because a lot of us had a lot of vested interest in it. Another great example, a really good friend of mine during this COVID-19, he had a small business and he had to make the tough decision whether he rides it out in hopes that all this stuff will be lifted and he can continue as usual, or does he lay everyone off and lock the doors? And I was pretty proud of him. He had to make the tough decision to basically just shut the business down before he lost everything. If he would have kept it open, he would have actually probably went bankrupt, because it was about 6 months before he was able to get more work. And now he's got a couple big jobs and was able to hire all of his guys back. But if he would have stayed open because he was emotionally invested in what he was doing, he would have, it ultimately would have went sideways. He would have probably been completely broke now. So very important. I put that number one because I find a lot of people can't separate themselves from the actual tough choices to be made. And if you can do it, take your emotions out of your decision making. I know it's really difficult sometimes, but that is definitely a key factor. All right. Number two, when you're making a decision, a hard decision, it's got to be along the lines of what's recoverable or what are you going to get out of it. So in the case that, in my example, where we had this project go sideways, the decision was, do we keep putting more money into it or do we just walk away? Or do we try to get some money from the partners, or what do we do? And you really need to evaluate what's recoverable. So if you keep on sinking money into a project, are you actually going to be able to get that back one day? Or maybe you've made a bad investment. So say you bought Kraft Heinz when it was $80, $90 and now it's at 30. Are you ever going to get back to that level that you bought in? Is their dividend going to be sustainable that one day you're going to break even, or it's going to be a steady stream of income with no problems? Maybe it's another bad investment on real estate and say the market crashed. You know, is there a chance that it's going to recover? But really, when you're making these tough choices, especially when it comes to personal finance, you got to realize or understand what you can actually recover, what you're going to get out of these decisions. So in my friend's example, where he shut his business down, what was he trying to get out of it? He was trying to get his company in a position that if things did turn around one day, he could reopen the doors and there'd be something left. But you really got to think about any action you do when you got a tough decision. What's recoverable? What are you personally trying to get out of it? All the while keeping your emotions out of these decisions. So, you know, if you need to sink another $1,000 in to recover 500, that doesn't make sense. Maybe you walk away. It's kind of like the old Kenny Rogers song, you got to know when to hold them, know when to fold them. Know when to walk away, and definitely you need to know when to run. All right. Okay, number 3, know when to cut your losses. This is really tough, especially if it's a personal investment. Sometimes investments just don't pay off. So, and I don't know what a good example would this be off the top of my head, but it's kind of like if you're playing poker and you've got a really bad hand and you've got half your money on the table. Sometimes you're better just to walk away than to just ride it out and bluff the other guy. If you got a bad investment that, you know, the company's got no good growth prospects, sometimes it's better just to cut your losses and keep on with a better investment and maybe take whatever money you can recover and reinvest it into something that will be profitable. That's a really tough one for a lot of retail investors. I know I've struggled with that in the past. A lot of people tend to, if you've probably heard the saying, the people will cut their flowers and keep their weeds. And what that means is you sell your good investments and maybe you average down on your bad ones, and then the bad ones just keep getting worse. So just know when to walk away from some of these investments. Sometimes a company will never pan out, no matter how great the story, no matter what they do, it's just not a viable business. So that is definitely a point to consider. So hopefully all of these things that we've just talked about will help you to make hard decisions when it comes to business and financial and investment decisions. But anyways, I hope you guys are doing well, and we will see you in the next video.